All right, welcome to the Conservation Committee meeting for November 7th, 2018. If we can all stand and salute the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll have roll call. Deborah Santiano McHatton. Commissioner Anna Raponi.
Here.
Commissioner Joe Laval. Here. Commissioner Toby Cassidy.
Present.
And I want to welcome our new commissioner, David Etoff, who's newly appointed last week.
Here.
All right, can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes from October 3rd, 2018?
I'll move.
All right. Motion by Toby.
Second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Joe Laval. Too late. Continued, first item is continued public hearing, Mass DEP file 0610720, notice of intent, Richard Marchese, 548, 580 Revere Beach Boulevard, relocate approximately 500 linear feet of sewer line from the middle of the property to tie into the existing sewer line at the rear of the property. Is anyone here for that? Name and address for the record, please.
Roy Tiano with Engineering Alliance. I'm a project manager there. Engineering Alliance is located 194 Central Street in Saugus.
Thank you, sir. And I know we continued this meeting from last month because not all the ducks are in a row with the city, but I know I've since talked to the engineer from the city, and it seems like we have everything in order. There's no drastic changes as far as the earthwork. Everything's the same, but I think we're adding another manhole or something.
That's correct.
Where is that manhole going to be located? Do you know where it is?
It's at the end of the property. We were going to try and use an existing one, and Nick Rystrom, the engineer, did not want that. He wanted a new one in place, so we decided to change that and put it
The
in
end
the
of the property as far as north or south?
south.
South. So there's going to be, the new manhole's going to be south, Joe.
Correct.
That's where it is. Okay, so nothing's changed. There's,
Well, he had some questions, and we responded to all his questions,
Yeah.
and he was satisfied with all our responses.
yeah, and I know he's mentioned something about some pressure testing and stuff, but.
Correct.
As
Since-
far as the conservation-wise earthwork and what we're doing, nothing's changing. I don't know if there's any commissioners that want to speak on this, if you guys have any other questions that you thought of since last month? No, everyone's good?
As long as he's complied with all the requirements, I have no problem with.
He has, yes, he has. And I know there were some opponents that were here last month. I don't know if you guys want to talk again, have anything to say, some opponents against this. If you don't want to, no problem. But do I have a motion to approve to grant the order of conditions?
I'll make a motion.
What's that? Do you guys want to talk? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll let you guys talk first, I'm sorry. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Eric Lampedecchio, 43 Tapley Avenue. I just don't understand the purpose of why the sewer line's being moved if there's not a project before or a project in the works.
There's going to be a future development in the works that just hasn't come to fruition yet. There's nothing that they have planned. They're just planning ahead and want to have the sewer line moved. There is going to be a development coming up probably within the next 6 months to a year.
Sure.
But they just want to have the sewer line moved now.
But what if they need to move the sewer line again then?
Well, I'm sure that their thinking is they probably already have a development in mind, just nothing that they've submitted to the city yet. So they know that they're putting it in the right spot. And I guess they're going right in line with what the beach house and all the other developments did down there. That the people that have already moved their sewer line, everything's already in line.
Okay.
So they're just going according to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Powers, how are you, sir?
Good evening. John Powers, 46 Neponset Street, this city. Gentlemen, ladies, I'm here tonight, and I understand there probably will be an order of conditions issued. However, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I spoke with Nick Rystrom today, and he said he just got the revised plan yesterday and hasn't had a chance to look at it. So, I mean, I don't know what we're talking about here.
Well, I actually spoke with Nick yesterday, and he says that as far as conservation-wise and site work and earthwork where they're going to be digging anything up,
Yep.
nothing's changing from the original plan that they submitted last month and proposed to us. The only real change is putting a new manhole cover on the south end of the property.
I understand they're moving the line back,
Yep,
okay?
correct.
hopefully it's an 18-inch line,
Same exact, yeah, it's an 18-inch line, correct?
okay? My concern is it's a gravity flow line, and I want to make sure that the pitch will be right on that. This line services the entire Point of Pines, which includes Riverside and all of the boulevard on the northern end of the boulevard up to that project. I'd like to be able to have perhaps a condition put on this that Mr. Rystrom and also the new water and super intendant look at this.
Yep.
And within the next 2 weeks, and if there are any objections, that those objections or changes be adhered to as part of the condition.
Yeah, which my conversation with Nick Rystrom yesterday was that they still have to adhere by all the rules and regulations that the city wants and what the engineer's gonna want in the water department.
Yeah.
As far as the pitch and the size of the line's 18 inches.
Pitch particularly, that's a...
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's major.
And anything that they would change from this point on, that any conditions they might give them, is not gonna change anything from a conservation point of view.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you very much.
You're welcome, Counselor. Anyone else wish to speak? I'm not sure. If we can just come up to the microphone, just so that way the other people from TV can turn on the microphone.
Yeah, the intent is to start as soon as possible. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it in prior to winter, but we may be forced to push it to the springtime.
I know from last month when Caruso was here, because I know
Right.
he's the one doing the project, he wanted to know what the time frame was for the appeal process.
Right.
Once I issue him the order, if the order of conditions gets issued tonight, there's a 10-business day appeal process, so essentially 2 weeks. And I think at that 15th day, they're pretty much planning on starting the work, depending on the weather. That's what I got from it last month. Yep.
Do you take out a section at a time to replace the 18-inch line?
No.
Or you do it all,
Do it all at once. You put a feed line in adjacent to it,
bypass?
the bypass, and then you pull out the line, and then you put in the new line.
There's going to be very, and this was a question I know was asked last month, very minimal effect. There's not going to be any
Right.
long-term shutdown or anything. It's
No
a matter
shutdown.
of,
That was my next question.
yep.
Right.
You know, we have a problem down there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's no, the shutdown is very minimal. I think it's not even an hour from what.
Right.
Yeah, and it's going to be very minimal.
Correct.
Yep. Counselor?
Well, with the appeal process, that would certainly give Mr. Rystrom and the
The water superintendent for
superintendent
the water department,
a
any,
chance to go in and look at that, and
correct,
thank you.
correct. You're welcome.
Another question.
Can you just do me a favor, come up to the microphone? We want to see your face on TV.
On my autograph? When they dig up the new sewer line, are they going to bait the area for rats and all those other fine animals down there?
It's a requirement, they have to, 2 weeks before they start the process. So basically, if it gets approved by this commission, they should be out there baiting within the next couple of days. Right, John, is it 2 weeks before a project starts?
It is, and that certificate has to be on file at the Inspectional Services Department.
Correct.
For anyone to come in and look at.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's good. All right, thank you, people.
My turn.
Your turn.
Jason Smith, 585 Revere Beach Boulevard. So, again, going back, I know it's only going to be an hour shutdown for the water in the system. Are there contingency plans in case of, something happens? So is there, obviously, you guys haven't dug in and seen what the pipe is, but if you get in and you find something else, is there a contingency to make sure that we don't have an extended shutdown of water service?
Thank you.
There's no contingency plan in place. I mean, we could think about that and decide, the best way to do that, but I hear your point. I mean, it's a good point, and we have to put our heads together and put together a contingency plan. Right now, there's not one in place for the Conservation Commission, but more than likely, we'll have to come up with one.
This is something I'll also mention to Nick
Right.
Rice from the city engineer and the inspection services, make sure. Obviously, we don't want anything extended, we
Right,
want it
yeah.
to be an easy transition.
The other thing, and I think that we delved into this a little bit at the last meeting, obviously you're going to have heavy trucks come in with the piping and everything. Are we going to do those at off hours so that those trucks will be there when they won't affect the traffic in the morning that's already pretty tough? Or is there a time frame when obviously you'll bring in 53-footer flatbeds in to bring the piping in. So my question is, where are you going to drive it in? Are you going to take the back road? And what time frame is that going to be at?
The plan is to do it during regular scheduled work hours. I mean, the city doesn't want us to do it off hours.
Yeah.
And we have to adhere to what the city wants, and I think that's our intent as well, to do it, during the regular work hours.
Okay. My only question, and again, I'm sorry, I don't want to take up too much
No,
more
that's all
time,
right.
is that, my suggestion, because based on the traffic patterns, if you are going to do them during the regular hours, is that they don't come from the Lynn side, that they come from the Revere Street side, so that you've already got a huge amount of traffic, and if they're going to be pulling in, that should give them a wide enough turn and to be able to make sure that they don't disrupt traffic as it is. So
Okay.
that's my only suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely let them
That's a
know. I'll
good
let
point,
Caruso
and
know.
in response to that is, we'll have to work out a traffic management plan such that we, don't encounter these problems like you mentioned.
Exactly. Yeah, I just want to, you know what I mean, it's a very little, if possible, impact to the neighbors. I don't want to bother them at all. And I know I already mentioned we mentioned at the last meeting, there's not going to be any parking on the boulevard at all because they're going to be working at the back of the property. There's going to be no parking on the boulevard. Okay, anyone else wish to speak? All right, I actually need to make a motion to close out the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close out the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Joe. And what's the will of the commission? Do we have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
I make an order to distribute the orders of the commission.
So first by hand, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe Laval. All right, so if you hang tight a little bit, I'll give you the order of conditions. We'll sign them tonight, and you'll get the actual copy tonight. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a public meeting request for determination of applicability, National Grid 186A, Lee Burbank Highway, installation of a new utility pole in order for service upgrade at the property. Is there anyone here from National Grid?
I have the legal ad if you need it. Would you like
Yes,
it?
please. Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lindsay, and I am from Conoco Engineers and Scientists at 4 First Street, Bridgewater, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of Massachusetts Electrical Company for the proposed installation of the utility pole number 3655-6 in the rear paved parking lot of 186A Lee Burbank Highway. The project is located within the 200-foot riverfront area of the Chelsea River and is within bordering land subject to flooding. The proposed project is exempt from the WPA regulations because it's an installation of directly embedded utility pole and associated anchors, and it's within paved road, 10 feet of the driveway, and as far away from the resource area as practicable. All construction associated with this project is located within previously developed areas, and all disturbed areas, if there is any, would be restored to previous conditions upon the completion of the work. And to guard against any potential impacts from the project, erosion and sedimentation control consisting of straw wattles secured by wooden stakes will be secured between the edge of the work and the wetland resource areas, and silt sacks will be installed for inlet protection on all catch basins. And given the limited scope of work and the use of BMPs, Conoco is respectfully requesting that the Revere Conservation Commission issue a negative determination for the project.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions? So basically, this is just,
A single utility
it's just a
pole.
single utility pole. There's going to be a big auger machine that's going to come in and drill a hole. How far down does it go?
They are expecting like 6 to 7 feet.
Okay.
That's also laid out in the,
Okay, so we're not going to, it's not going to disturb any of the resources in the area. Basically, it's very minimal impact. Do I have what's the will of the commission to issue a determination?
I'll make a motion to issue a negative determination.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Toby. If you hang tight 5 minutes, I'll give you your
Okay,
paperwork.
thank
Thank you. All right, next is public meeting, Mass DEP file 0610696, certificate of compliance for 10 Garofalo Street for East Boston Neighborhood Health Center. Is anyone here from the health center? I told them we didn't have to come, actually. So the health center, as we know, was built on Garofalo Street where the Matola post was. They've satisfied everything that we've asked them to do in the original order of conditions, so they're looking to, for certificate of compliance because everything has been done according to the order of conditions. Do I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance?
As long as they've completed the compliance required,
Yep.
fine.
Okay, so first by Ann Raponi. You make a motion? Do I have a second?
Yes, I make a motion
Do I have a
to
second?
do so.
Second?
Seconded by Dave. Davey Tough, all righty. All right. So next one on the agenda is postponed until January. They want to postpone it for 2 months. So next one is public hearing, notice of intent, Mass DEP file. There's no number yet, but Delvecchio Construction, new construction of 22 residential units at 83 Bennington Street. Do I have a motion to open up the public hearing? Do I have a motion by one of the commissioners to open the public hearing?
I'll second it.
Who first? No one first it yet, so.
Oh.
First by Toby Cassidy, seconded by Ann Raponi.
They,
Name and address for the record, please.
I'm missing a hearing aid.
My name's Jake Mormon from Coughlin Environmental Services, located at 62 Montvale Ave in Stoneham.
Okay. What do you got?
So I'm here on behalf of Delvecchio Construction for a proposed project at 83 Bennington Street. The proposed project is for a 5-story, 22-unit residential apartment building. For existing conditions at the site, the site is located in zone AE, female flood zone AE. It has an elevation of 11. There are no endangered species or area of critical environmental concern or outstanding resource waters at the site. Wetlands were delineated by Norse Environmental, and they found wetlands along the backside of the site. That's the green on.
That's in between the site and the train tracks, correct?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
train tracks is behind that.
Right, yeah, the train tracks are farther behind the site there.
Yep.
So they found an isolated drainage ditch behind the site. We believe it's perched water, basically drainage coming off of the train tracks, which over time has accumulated some organic material, and phragmites have started to grow in the site. So he placed wetland flagging on the back of the site, which we picked up by a field survey, and these are our plans here. So the site is located within the 100-foot buffer of the wetlands almost entirely. That's the red line on our plans here. So moving ahead, we have some for site prep before construction begins. We have updated plans for what was in the notice of intent per comments from Nick with engineering. I have copies if you'd like.
Yeah, please, please.
Thank you.
So those plans have been updated per comments from engineering. Basically what we've added from the plans that were originally submitted with a notice of intent, we've increased the erosion control to go around the entire perimeter of the site instead of just the backside located along the wetlands. We've also added a detail for a temporary construction entrance at the front of the site and added provisions about keeping the street clean and keeping dirt from leaving the site. Also, for erosion control, we have a proposed silt sack in the catch basin located in front of the site, which will be periodically cleaned during construction. So the erosion controls that we have on site will be inspected weekly and cleared as needed, depending on the accumulation levels. The details that we provided with the notice of intent are all the same except for the driveway detail that we've added. So it's going to be a 1 to 3 inch coarse aggregate driveway during the site, with the straw wattles and the silt fence going around the entire site, and the silt sack and the catch basin.
I actually got a call yesterday from one of the abutters. She was gonna try and make it tonight, but I'm not sure if she did, but she wants to know where the water runoff coming out of the gutters and stuff, where is it going to?
From the gutters.
From the building?
From the roof?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we cover here. This is
Okay.
our site plan. So, we designed it for the 25-year storm. All of the roof drainage will be directly piped into infiltration chambers located beneath the building.
Perfect.
So those are
Okay.
these in the middle, the blue ones in the middle are for the roof. And then the building takes up most of the site. It's about 2/3 of the site. I think it has a footprint about 6,200 square feet on the site. So, most of the drainage.
How many levels is it?
5 stories. So the
5 stories.
first story, I should have mentioned, is parking, and then the second to fourth to fifth.
Second
floors.
to fifth is all living area.
Correct. So roof drainage gets piped directly into these infiltration chambers, and then we have the site graded so that flow is directed away from the street and is collected in 2 catch basins in the back of the site, which then directs flow to more infiltration chambers also underneath the building. And those are designed to mitigate the increase in the peak runoff from the 25-year storm.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's,
There was one major concern that one of the abutters, well, actually a couple of them, because she told me she's calling a few of her abutters where the water's going to go. Do we have any other proponents here that want to speak in favor of this? I'm going to close out that side of the hearing, here and seeing none. Do we have any opponents that want to speak on this project? Commissioners, any questions?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious about something. I'm looking at the plan here, and the drainage from the roof is going directly to the middle site,
yeah, so we still.
and then there's one pipe going from that to a secondary tank under the retention tank underneath. Is that right? And then that goes
Yep.
out?
So these 2 catch basins flow into those infiltration chambers in the back, and then we've just added a connection between the roof drainage and the site drainage, so that all the chambers are connected.
Okay, my question is, would it be more feasible to have 2 pipes going to that second retention? It seems like rather precarious situation to have just that one pipe going from the first. Does the water go directly to the middle chamber?
Yeah,
And then
so-
to the second chamber?
So roof drainage is going directly into these middle chambers,
Uh-huh.
and then the site drainage is going into these catch basins, into these back chambers. The one connecting them is kind of for redundancy, just to have, basically, they'll act as one infiltration unit instead of 2 separate ones. Does that answer your question?
And again, then that's to handle a 25-year flood?
Yes. Yeah.
What's the total area of the retention, total volume that it can handle?
Total volume, I believe, is 1,300 cubic feet.
And since it's underneath the building, then you people are always, the individuals that are going to maintain it, that's nothing to do with the city or anything else.
Correct, yes.
Are they fiberglass?
I have a cut sheet for them, if you would like to look at it. I can give this to you.
Yeah, if you can.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners want to ask questions while Joe's looking at that, if he has any others? Ian? Yeah? Deb?
I'd like to ask if the soil has been tested on that site. It previously was a gas station?
I believe it was, I don't know, was it a gas station?
Was it a gas station or repair shop?
It was a repair shop, gas station years ago.
Yeah.
So those tanks would, I don't know when they were removed, but I would think some testing should be done on the land.
Has been tested.
Can we get a copy of those results, Anthony?
Yes.
Please, thank you.
In the,
Turn the microphone on.
the drainage ditch in the back of the building for the wetlands, where's the overflow, or where's that water coming from? I know you mentioned the MBTA, but I'm wondering how you're going to provide additional relief for the people down there if it should back up.
So the way we've designed our drainage is that we don't increase the peak runoff from our site. So the way that drainage is currently running off of the site into that drainage ditch, we are actually providing sufficient storage to decrease the amount of runoff coming off of our site going into the drainage ditch. So the way that it's currently functioning as a drainage area for our site and maybe the adjacent site, it won't change. It'll actually be receiving less water.
Thank you.
So basically what they're doing now is the water drainage that comes off that property now goes right into that ditch that we all know about. But because they're gonna retain their own water, it's gonna decrease what's actually coming off the property now. We have any other questions, Joe?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the parking is underneath the building,
That's on the first floor.
on the first floor, and access and egress is on one of the sides or both sides? How do cars get in and out?
So we have the entrance is located here, I guess, and exit will be here. So traffic will be routed around that way.
The answer's gonna be it's gonna be like a horseshoe going in and out.
Oh, and my next question is, what kind of distance do you have in the rear of the property? Did you have to get some kind of permission from the MBTA, and how far you could go to their property in the back?
I think that's more for the architect. It's not really, I didn't place the building on the site, so the architect is more so the one who was dealing with that. But it's,
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the MBTA
I don't think
needs
they-
access to the back there for anything.
Anthony might know this. Anthony, is there access back there? Anthony, can you come up, please? Just name and address for the record, please.
Anthony Delvecchio, 80 Null Road, Revere, Mass. No, we didn't get any special permission from the MBTA.
It wasn't required. so
No, it
that's why
wasn't
we didn't have
required.
to. Okay. All right, they have
It's
no
not
access.
that close that we need permission from the MBTA.
Okay.
We're 20 feet away. The building will be 20 feet away from the fence.
Which is the same as existing building that's next door now.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, so we know that there's been and I talked to Nick Rice from earlier today and Benny the Cristoforo, or mainly Benny, the building inspector, that they have some stuff they still got to do with the city. As far as conservation-wise, we're good, but if the order of conditions gets issued, it's going to be with a contingency that they speak to the building inspector and get everything squared away with their variance extension that expired 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. So if there's no other questions from the commissioners, do I have well, actually, it's a public hearing. There's no opponents, so we're closing out that side of the hearing. Do I have a motion to close out the hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Joe made the motion and second?
No, my friend here.
Oh, Deb?
Yes.
All right, so Deb will second it.
I'll second.
Deb will second it, okay. All right, what is the will of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to issue an order of conditions.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Toby Cassidy. All right, thank you, sir. I can't issue the order of conditions tonight, I'm going to get the signatures, but there's no DEP file number yet. So once I have the DEP file number, then I'll mail out the original order of conditions. Okay? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a fun one, public meeting regarding the burying of dead sea life on Revere Beach. As we all know, back in July, I issued a temporary order for a ditch to be buried at the beach to bury some clams. It happened on 2 more occurrences where they still buried the clams, and I actually ended up getting a call from DEP saying, how many clams are you going to let them bury? At that point, I says, well, we're not doing it anymore. I told them that they can't. During this whole conversation and everything happening, as we all know, a whale washed up on the beach. And they seeked my signature to get, and that morning was September 21st, I got a call like 9 o'clock. Down the beach is DCR, NOAA, the aquariums, 4 or 5 agencies down there, and they needed my signature to issue an order to bury the whale. That was what they came up with. That's what these professionals came up with, was to bury the whale. So I had to give them a signature, and I issued the order to do that. About a week later, not even, 5 days later, a dead seal washed up on the beach. So in my head, I'm going, between the call I got from DEP and then the dead seal washing up, I'm going, how many dead animals are we going to bury on the beach? So I issued a cease and desist on the 26th rather, to not bury any more clams, seals, whales, nothing. And I asked DCR to come up here and let's have a meeting to discuss. Let's come up with a better game plan, because we don't want to bury any more sea life at the beach. DCR, for some unfortunate reason, couldn't make this meeting tonight, so we're going to have a further discussion at some point, because they need to come in front of us with their maintenance plan that they need to do every 3 years. So when they come back with a maintenance plan, they're going to come up with a plan for an occurrence if there's ever a dead whale, dead clams or dead whale that washes up again, what they're going to do with it. What we're going to tell them they're going to do is not bury it at the beach. They're going to get rid of it somehow. They're going to dispose of it, because we can't keep on burying stuff at the beach. It shouldn't happen anymore. I know State Representative Rosalie Vincent is here to speak. I'd like to have her come up and speak a little bit, and then if anyone else wants to speak, they can. Representative Vincent. Turn it on, Rosalie, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all. I'm here to support Chairman Malason's position on not allowing further burial of marine wildlife on Revere Beach. I've been concerned about this for some time. It started, as Nick said, with the hundreds of thousands of clams that washed up, then a 30-foot whale, then a seal, all within a couple of weeks. We still don't have any knowledge on how or why they died, why they washed up, or if there's disease, or we really don't know anything at all about these animals, yet they were allowed to be buried in our sand where people recreate. It was very disturbing to me personally. You know, we are America's first public beach. Millions of people recreate on our beach throughout the year. It's feet from residential housing, from a state police barracks, and from the T. A major concern I also have with the burial is that we are experiencing severe storms and flooding. Over the last year, we've seen so much flooding on our beaches. We've seen erosion on our sand. The contour of Revere Beach is changing. So it's really alarming that if burial becomes a norm, I just can't even begin to imagine the devastation that it would propose on Revere's public beach. You know, I understand this is new territory for all of us, including DCR, the city, the state, you know, but with sea level rises, this is going to be happening more and more frequently, and we need to get a game plan. In fact, as chair of the Metropolitan Beaches Commission, I'm planning on filing legislation that would prevent burial of beach wildlife and mammals on any urban beaches. If you think about whales and these humongous animals being buried right next to where people sunbathe, it's really ludicrous. We don't have an area where it's not frequented by millions of people. So there's really no place on America's first public beach for burial. Unfortunately, all too often, urban cities like Revere bear the brunt of Greater Boston's environmental burdens. We have an unlined ash landfill that is allowed to expand in a wetland. We have low-flying airplanes that fly constantly over our neighborhoods. We have oil and gas tanks that service all of New England. We have the traffic of the entire North Shore going through our city. So it's insulting to me that when a whale that washes up in a town like Cohasset and is allowed to be towed out to sea, yet when that same whale washes up on the shores of Revere Beach, it gets buried in our sand. So I really think that we are stewards of our environment, and we really need to protect the natural resources of our beautiful environment that we call America's first public beach. And we cannot allow Revere Beach to become a landfill for dead sea life. We need to work together and find ways to deal with this issue. And I am confident that the Revere Conservation Commission, the city, the state, and DCR can find a more palatable solution to dispose of these dead sea creatures other than burying them on America's first public beach. So I just want to again say thank you, Nick. I thank you to the commission. I hope you support Nick in his quest that we do not make America's first public beach a graveyard for sea life. Thank you.
Nick, if I may.
Thank you, Representative Vincent.
I have a
Commissioner
question
Capone?
for you, Rosalie.
Yes.
You mentioned that when a whale washes up on a Cohasset beach, that whale is picked up and taken away. What kind of rules do they have in Cohasset that we don't have to do the same?
Cohasset's run by the town.
It's a town beach, but they still have rules, and they, like, if the Conservation Commission had said at that time on Revere Beach, no, you can't take it away, then they would have had to have done that. Unfortunately for Nick, and, you know, when you have experts telling you that, oh, this is the best way, you know, and they really didn't give us quite enough time, I don't believe, to find other solutions. So I think we need to prepare ourselves for what we're going to do in the future. We can't now change what happened. You know, my first instinct was, I want that whale exhumed and I want it taken back out. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I know that realistically it's not going to happen. The only way it is going to happen is with one of these storms, we're going to find it washed up again on the boulevard at some point. But I'm just hoping that between DCR, and I think DCR does want to work, this is new for them too. I don't remember, does anyone here remember the last time we had a whale, a seal, and hundreds of thousands of clams on our shoreline in a matter of weeks? So we need some solutions. We need to have a game plan, and I think by Nick taking the initiative and saying, no, we need to talk before we allow any more burial, and I really applaud you, Nick, and I thank you for that.
Thank you,
And
Representative.
may I ask another question?
Sure.
With the DCR is absolutely very important to the final decision as to what Plan B is in the event this does reoccur. Shouldn't they have a strong voice in getting a solution to what do we do with the whales that come ashore? Don't they have an important role to play?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I'm not quite certain the reason why they weren't able to be here tonight, but I'm certain that we'll be able to work together with the DCR. I know that they take great pride in Revere Beach, and they take, you know, pride in keeping our beach clean and maintained. So I just think that this was unprecedented territory that we found ourselves in, and I think we need to all work together. So yes, so we need to work absolutely with the DCR, and I'm sure that they will be happy to work with all of us.
And I'm hopeful that they do come up with a plan, and soon, as like you say, the times are changing, and we're probably going to get a lot more of this washing up ashore. And before this reoccurs, we should really work together, get a plan from DCR, or whoever is responsible, or
Right.
whoever can come up with a solution, and put it in place so that we won't have to be at a meeting like tonight, trying to figure out what's our next step.
Absolutely.
And your interest here is very important, and your being here is very important. But the bottom line, Mr. Chairman, is the solution is in the hands of the state or whoever else can make decisions for this, because it was pretty pitiful to see that mammal on the sand. I happen to live on the beach, and it was pretty sad to see that mammal with all the spectators around the poor thing, taking pictures, and it was almost like a theater, and it really turned my stomach, if you don't mind my saying so. So the bottom line is, thank you for being here,
You're
and thank you for the interest that you can convey to your other people that will make the decisions on what we are to do in the event this reoccurs.
Well,
That-
don't dismiss the authority and the power that you as a board have on that. So
Oh, I know that we
So-
play a strong role also.
you play an extremely strong role.
DCR needs to come in front of us in the next 2 months with
Yes,
it.
DCR is just as important as we are.
So exactly, so we all need to be on the same page. And
Yes.
I think the page we need to be on is that when the next whale washes up, we need to find
I hope
where
that-
and
I
how we
hope-
get rid of it. And the solution should not be
To bury it.
on
Yep.
Revere Beach and burying it.
United we stand, Rosalie.
Okay, so then,
United we stand.
then if
And
we're.
thank you
Any-
very much.
You're very
Any other
welcome.
commissioners want to have anything to say?
Any
So-
other questions?
Sure. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your concerns. We share the same concerns. What I am disappointed in hearing is that we don't know why these mammals are dying. I think the sale was a sale taken away, but I think we need to address what's happening, that the clam life this year was buried, that we have sales, we have a whale, but we don't know what's causing it, whether it's global warming, whether there's something out there. We need to find that out, and I'm not sure and who we turn to that to prevent.
I have
sea life
had, I
dying.
have, yes, well, thank you, I have the same fears and questions, and my office has been inquiring from NOAA and from the aquarium, and actually, there's someone here from Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, Bruce Berman, I'm sure he'll have a few words to say. But I'm waiting for the answers in writing on what is causing and what happened. I mean, it's frightening when you see all these dead creatures on your beach I've lived in Revere my entire life. I'm fourth generation. And I too live on the beach, so I know I have never seen anything like I've seen the last. It was very sad. So I think as a united group, I think if we work together, and I'm hopeful that DCR will understand how we all feel. And I don't think it was an easy task for them to say, let's bury it. I think they had reservations, but at that point, it was uncharted territory. So now we can move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to come up and speak?
I know it's the end of the evening, and I don't want to take up your time.
Just no problem. Just name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Bruce Berman, big fan of America's, well, it's the center of the known universe, let's be clear about it, of Revere Beach. I live in Brighton, Massachusetts. Thanks for allowing me just a moment. I couldn't agree with the commissioners and with Representative Vincent Moore. My biggest concern is that we had 2 marine mammals and we don't know why they're dead. And
Yeah,
that's it.
that same day, there was also one washed up out in
That's
the
right.
ocean.
I was going to say, at the same time, we had reports of 7 marine mammals that were dead, but one of them was the same, washing up in more than one location. And there was, of course, another whale that washed up in the Brewsters. Typically, over time, the young humpbacks and also right whales, the number one cause of immersion, well, there are 2 real causes. The first is ship strikes, and the second is gear entanglement. And you can see fairly easily by looking at a carcass whether it's one of those. This year, up and down the East Coast, there seems to be something else going on. I don't want it to be incendiary. It's not a huge number of whales, but it's a statistically significant number of humpbacks that are dying without the signs of those two things, ship strikes or gear entanglement. It may be a pathogen. It may be a virus. They're mammals just like us. So, alas, there was not a necropsy performed in Cohasset. That whale was towed out to sea. It drifted back in. I think we understand why it drifted back in. This summer, we had storm after storm that resembled nor'easters, with wind blowing from the northeast, which isn't a typical thing. So I do think it's very thoughtful of you, and Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, as indicated to Representative Vincent, who's the chair of the Beaches Commission, that we're really glad that she's taken up this issue. We look forward to working with you, with the commission, and with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, who frankly take both their stewardship and their other obligations pretty seriously. And we know that there's always, this or that between the town. We're a place that attracts 1 million Massachusetts residents a year, and we get it. But you guys have been terrific. They work pretty hard to try to figure out what to do. I would like to just say that I think we have a much clearer idea about what happened with the clams this year. And I would urge you to allow the chairman and the commission some flexibility on an incident-by-incident basis, because in some cases it may be appropriate to dig a trench in and put clams in it. Let me just give you, as best I can, quickly what I think happened. And by the way, I've been to Revere before, and I've been to Revere after nor'easters in the winter, when there were acres of hard-shelled clams tossed almost onto the road in cold weather. And my concern was if I could get them quickly and make sauce out of them. And don't tell me that you guys aren't familiar with what I'm talking about. So the physics of this are pretty easily understood, right? And in fact, I've seen pictures, I got here too late, where they were literally sorted by size, because the wave action throws the little ones less far than the big ones. The clam that we saw this summer is a clam called the Atlantic surf clam. And it is harder than a steamer, but softer than quahogs, little necks, and cherry stones. And it's quite good to eat. Typically harvested by dredge. So it's not a really, I don't think we'd be, in other words, they come in and they suck up the sand and then they put the sand back down, and it's just the way that they do it. There seems to be evidence that the northern range of that clam is extending. And I don't think any of us have any questions why. I've been the Bay Watcher, the spokesman for Save the Harbor, Save the Bay for 30 years. Every decade, the water's gotten at least, very close to a half a degree warmer, and that is accelerating and continuing. That means some species are moving north. And also in Virginia and other places, the amount of clams that there are is decreasing. This clam's sensitive to temperatures. So what I think happened this year is we had a banner year for baby clams. I mean, a ton of baby clams, millions and millions. And on a very high tide, we had a nor'easter, in essence. And it threw a good portion of those clams up to the top of the tide line where they cooked in the sun. There wasn't a pathogen in the clams. They died, and they rotted. And to be honest with you, in some ways it's a self-correcting problem, because the rest of them are in deeper water, and I don't expect them to be on shore until there's another big nor'easter, which could throw hard shells on. Representative Vincent asked us early on, is this the beginning of a trend? This is one of her first calls to us. And in some ways it might be. I'm hoping that it's not. If the solution were to go gather a bunch of clams and bring them to my favorite pasta shop, whose name I won't mention on town television right now because they might not like it, to make sauce, it would be terrific. And during the event, if you watch the tide recede, you know that area where it's the high tide because of the big moons, right? I mean, the lunar high tides. If you watch the water go down, you could see millions of healthy clams. In fact, I tried to explain to the reporters that they were alive, and they didn't believe me till they touched them and got squirted. But that's because they don't spend as much time on the beach as all of us do. So if there's anything that we can do, so they got cooked in the sun and rotted, and gave a feast to the crabs when they were underwater and to the seagulls when they were not. At least they weren't as big as the quahogs, which got picked up by the seagulls and dropped on cars, which was something of an annoying thing because they would dent and smash.
Well, I would definitely like to have you involved.
We'll do
when
whatever
have
we
these
can.
Discussions, because
Thank you for
you
making.
definitely know a lot more than I do, and I'd like
Listen,
to have you listen to
I
your
didn't-
expertise.
I didn't, but I want to say that DCR, that EEA, and that, in fact, even folks as far as Way's Maine Division of Fish and of Marine Resources helped us try to understand this. I can say definitively the whales didn't kill the clams, and the seal probably didn't kill the whale.
Yeah.
But what you did have, I think, is floating things heading towards Revere because of the wind direction.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be, the wind's going to be like that for a while. We'll do whatever we can to help. Thank you for taking it seriously.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say? So I just want to, I wanted to have this discussion, and I know I'm going to talk a little bit more, Rosalie, with Representative Vincent about it, that we're still going to call, DCR has to come in front of us next couple of months for their maintenance plan for the next 3 years. Part of their maintenance plan is going to be what happens when a whale or a dead sea life washes up. Well, what I'm going to tell them they're going to do is it's got to be taken away, it can't be buried, so. And as far as the clams, that can be a case-by-case basis, because anything as big as a seal or a whale, we don't want to just bury. So we'll have to discuss it with them in the future, but Rosalie and I will still be in discussion with having a meeting with DCR and get everybody involved and everyone be on the same page.
Are you, are they aware of this, and are they going to meet with us soon?
DCR is going to be in front of us the next couple of months for a new maintenance plan. So we'll have that discussion at that meeting then. Yep.
They have to appear here with us?
They have to, yeah, they have to come in front of us. with their new
Within the
maintenance
next
plan.
2 months, you say?
They have to, because their maintenance plan that they have now actually expired, so they have to come in front of us.
So it's mandatory?
Mandatory, they have to come in front of us for new order and conditions for their maintenance plan.
That sounds like a good
Nick,
plan. It's like, I just hope that,
We'll get it all worked out, it's just a matter of getting
just
everyone at
hope
the
it
table at the
doesn't
same time.
multiply. I just hate to see this keep happening.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
if we have a plan in set
Yeah.
for the occasion, but we need to have a plan.
Well, we need to set a precedence now, you know what I mean? Unfortunately,
Now's
the
the
precedence almost got started with burying it, but I put the brakes on
Thank
that.
you.
Let's not set
Thank you
that
very
precedent
much,
no more.
Rosalie, for being here and giving us your
Joe, you got
input
something to
here
say?
and your interest.
All right.
Hopefully, we'll get it done.
Alrighty, thank you, Commissioner. So if nothing else, no other business in front of us tonight, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
Seconded by?
Second?
All right, seconded by Dave. Commissioner Eatoff? That's it, have a great night, thank you.